right, welcome to today's wonderful panel discussion. I am really, really excited. My name's Sophia, of course, from Sacred You. And with me today is a range of amazing women from all over the world, including the wonderful Catherine, who is facilitating spiritual ethics. This is a topic that I'm really interested to learn about. So, Catherine, I'm going to hand it over to you, and then I'll be back at the end. Thank you ever so much for bringing this topic to Sacred You.
Thanks, Sophia. I really appreciate it. And I'm really excited to have this discussion because this is my jam. This is what I teach people. And so a little bit about me before we dive into these beautiful women who are supporting us on this panel discussion today. I am a spiritual leadership coach, an intuitive healer, a podcaster, the author of Pillars for Life, A Guide to Spiritual Ethics and Practice, and also an international speaker. And my passion is truly allowing people, especially women and mothers, to reclaim who they really are through their voice, through their courageous no, and also leading them from the unknown and being that bridge, being that bridge from the known to the unknown. And today I've got these beautiful women with me who we're going to have a really powerful discussion about spiritual ethics. And the reason this topic is so important to me is because I really value accountability and integrity in any profession. It doesn't have to be in a spiritual profession. But, so often when we come across people and we think, gosh, why are they really irking me? I'm paying them to do a service and they're not doing that for me. That is accountability because they're breaking the trust that you truly have with them. And this topic came about originally before I even wrote my book was I was finishing up my kind of journey with my spiritual mentor. And one of the questions I asked during a channeling was, what can I do or what do I need to know when I'm channeling for people? And Spirit being Spirit gave these 7 pillars to follow. And I went, oh, this is going to be a book. And then, as Spirit has it, it turned into a book and evolved into something more because that's always what happens. And it went beyond what I could comprehend. But it's this discussion that people tend to avoid. There's, people that claim they're gurus, people that claim that they know everything or they make you dependent on them. And that is not what a true light worker, spirit worker, whatever it might be about. Really, it comes back to empowering those souls that you work with. So that's about me and why I'm passionate about this topic. And I'm going to go in the order that you are on my screen. So, Jenny Lee, would you like to introduce a bit about what you do and why spiritual ethics is an important topic to you?
Yeah, good morning, everyone, wherever you are around the world. Um, I bring work with people to mainly bring them back to their authentic self. It's a one line, but it's got a lot behind it, right? And my tool for doing that is rebirthing breath work. I'm very, very passionate about breath work and integrating that into people's daily lives as a tool that we can all use. And spiritual ethics is a really topic dear to my heart because breathwork in particular in Australia, I don't know about the rest of the world, has really exploded, if you like, in terms of every second person you talk to, oh, I do breath work. And I see a lot happening in the industry that doesn't feel in alignment with the true essence of what the work is supposed to be about. So yeah, that's why I came onto this group this morning. And I've also written a book. I'm actually in the middle of editing it on breath work and soul retrieval. Soul retrieval is an aspect of work that comes up for me and for my clients. And I'm just really, really passionate. And thank you for having me on today, Catherine. Mm. We've
You are
lost your,
mute, Del.
we've lost your voice,
There
Catherine.
we go. I'm back.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Jenny Lee. And I really understand what you mean about that movement with breath work and the guidelines around that. It's the same with psychedelics, right? There's this big movement at the moment around that. And then people not actually using the plant medicine for what it's entitled for. It's there just as a quick fix or something. Same with breath work, right? That's how I feel about it. But thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Natalie, do you want to introduce yourself and share why spiritual ethics is important to you?
Yes, of course. Hi, I'm Natalie Viglione, and I'm a vibrational medicine guide and an author. And what that really is a multidimensional approach to metabolic healing and also remembrance in the body and helping, people remember that you're the magic. You're the magic that you've always been seeking, but it's also attuning to the frequency of eternal living source, and so really sparking that internal life and vibrant force that's always been there. And, in vibrational medicine, multidimensional wellness, ethics is so important because there's an energetic attunement and frequency that needs to be tapped into, as well as what's happening inside of a physical body. And you cannot template this kind of approach to the point where it's a package. You can help in groups, you can help, there's things that I can do in that space, but this is so customized because every body and every soul, every spirit is so unique. So this framework around ethics and remembering, we are not healing anyone, that we are helping them attune themselves to heal themselves. That kind of reframe is just so vital, and it just comes back up time and time again in all of this work and conversations consistently, because there's been such a distortion of what the healing framework is in this world for so long. And so trying to get to that core essence, and breath of what that really means, again, speaking even of breath work, simple things and simple practices, but really coming back to that core of what's ethical and right for each individual human, or, even when I'm working with animals too. So very, very important.
Yeah, and I love that you highlighted, Natalie, that no, there's not really one size fits all when it comes to this work. And it can be, there's all this talk about, being in the coaching industry, but coming from a spiritual point of view, everyone's like, oh, you got to create a package and you got to create this and you got to do this. And it's like, but it's really difficult to do that because everyone's so unique, exactly like you said, and everyone takes what they need from that. And I feel this is where people forget that, yes, you can maybe create a package, but you still need that individualized support. You still need that individual catering to that person because everyone has a unique soul, a unique set of gifts, and a unique um, story that makes them who they truly are. Yeah. And so big welcome, Natalie, and thank you for
Thank you.
sharing.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And Tamar, welcome. Do you want to share what you do with beautiful people and why this topic's really important to you?
Yes, welcome everyone. Thank you for having me on. And so I am Tamar Gale. I'm the founder of the Feminine Codes, and it's all about remembering, helping women remember their sacredness, remember their truth, remember and embody and awaken these divine feminine codes that are held within our DNA. It's taking us back to the original blueprint almost of the feminine, and really on a larger scale it's for really redefining how we're living in this world, how we're showing up in this world, and ultimately redefining feminine leadership and how we show up, whether that's in our lives, for our families and our communities, personally with friendships and work, however that is, but how we show up in the world as a woman and how we lead as a woman. um, so it's, I guess, as I said, coming back into learning the cycles of women, cycles of nature, honoring the primordial mother, and really connecting with that greater sense of the feminine that I feel has been lost for so long. We've been disconnected from. So helping women come back into their bodies and reactivating those codes within us so we can really step into that place and begin to shift humanity in a way that we know is possible. So, spiritual ethics for me is really important because I have seen and have experienced so many people living out of alignment. And I've experienced a lot of different planes and levels of this world. And Catherine and I have spoke about that on the podcast a little bit that we have coming up. Um, but I see things in multi different dimensions, and so I can see a lot of different things that are happening. And coming from where I come from in the south of Florida, which is where I've been living, there is a large community that has congregated into that area, and there's a lot of people that are living kind of not, they're living out of integrity, and it's creating a lot of damage. And so that is really why it's so important to me, because as someone said, the plant medicine, which is not, plants are our allies and all of that, but there's a lot of things and that I see are being abused when really it's all about, for me, trusting your own body, trusting that we have everything that we need inside of ourselves. And the initiations that we go through in life are initiations that are needed. We actually go through initiations at through our life is a one huge initiation. So if we could just learn how to descend and come into that place of connecting with our soul as well as ascend, and not bypassing but connecting totally with the both, then we can really come into true alignment. And so spiritual ethics is important, because if we don't do that, then we're really leading a lot of people astray, and I see a lot of people getting hurt.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Tamar. And it's definitely that aspect of, remembering that we're human. I feel a lot of people forget that we are having a human experience for a reason. And yes, you can do all that work spiritually and out of these dimensions and timelines and everything like that, but you have to still acknowledge, exactly like you said, we're still in the body. We're still got to trust what our body aligns with and what comes through that. And I just want to acknowledge and welcome Dawn as well. Welcome, Dawn. And if you have any questions, we will ask them at the end, and we can, that's the beauty of having a panel. You've got all these beautiful women that can answer those questions for you. And so, Tuana, welcome. Do you want to share about what you do and why spiritual ethics is passionate to you?
Absolutely. I am Tawana Yvette Kawai. My name is Thunderbird Rising as well. That is my native name. I am a high priestess, a shaman, a trauma recovery facilitator, a spiritual guide. I help women heal very deep trauma and find their purpose and get back into remembering who they are, stepping into their power through coaching, through summits, through teachings, webinars, every avenue I can use to try to get women to step up to the plate and heal and find their purpose, instead of sitting at home wondering, now that the kids are gone, what do I do? I also do energy work. I am a psychic medium, so my body is used as a bridge between the ancestral plane and this one, as well as other planes. And spiritual ethics is very important to me. I teach it because I'm sorry, when you're dealing with spirit, there's no other option. And there are too many fakes out here making $450 an hour, where us light workers who are truly the ones with the gifts and things are, not. So spiritual ethics is very important to me. I will not cross any spiritual ethic lines. People have asked me before, people have offered me money. No, sorry, don't play with spirit, not trying to lose my gifts. Thank you, no thank you. And I'm not trying to have my ancestors have to walk away from me. So that's why spiritual ethics is important to me, because as a shaman, I take my duties seriously.
Mm. And I feel that that's such an important part that you bring up. For a lot of us who reawakened into our gifts, I find we're a lot more defensive about it because it was so hard to go through that reawakening. Like, I'm sure everyone that came back into their gifts, we have that beautiful dark night of the soul, round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. Um, everyone's like, I know what you're talking about. Verse, I find that people that were born with their gifts and remember their gifts, a lot of them are the ones that, and I'm not putting everybody in that, but a lot of those souls are the ones that actually just take it for advantage of it because they don't understand how the initiations that we went through. And again, it's not everyone I'm putting in that basket. It's just, that's just the general observations of things that I've noticed. So, and a big welcome to Denise. Thank you for joining us. Did you want to introduce yourself and just mention why spiritual ethics is an important topic to you?
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here. Denise, and I help and support people to self-heal. So we all have a story, and we've all got to go back and, I suppose, rewrite our story, our own story. So it's helping people to navigate through their story to find the true essence of themselves, to be able to then go out and explore their own world and create. It's like starting with a new canvas. And like you were saying, Catherine, Dark Night of the Soul, it's going through all of that. And, and we think, because we've been through that's it. No, it's a continuum for the rest of our days because we're continuing to unlearn to learn ourselves. So love the empowerment for people and the individuality. And the only way I can express that is through my own story. And that's where ethics comes in and the humility of self. And I'm not above everybody else. I'm not better than anybody else. I am just who I am. And I'm able to share my story, like all of you ladies do, to help people see themselves. And I think that's a beautiful gift. And that is it. It is a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift that I'm able to share myself with others and hold that beautiful space so they can open and see themselves and the gift that they are.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Denise. And I feel it's interesting that each one of us shared that it's helping people remember who they are, right? Coming back to themselves and empowering them to do so. And I feel that that's one of the core principles when it comes to talking about spiritual ethics. It's about empowering the individual rather than making them reliant on you and putting you in that savior role, because that just puts them constantly attached to you, which is what we really don't want to happen. Well, and it's interesting when you step back and you're like, oh, that client's really needy and they're trying to make me do everything for them and avoid doing any work themselves, and this is where it's really important, I feel, to see that is a difference between, traditional ethics, because every profession has these professional ethic guidelines. I know I had to fight an ethics board, in my profession and things like that because I didn't agree with what they were doing. But at the same time, every profession has this ethics board, but then we get to spiritual practices and it's like, oh, shouldn't they just be in alignment and love and light? Right. So, which isn't necessarily the case. So everyone's like, yeah, that's what it should be like, but it's really not. So Natalie, I want to ask you, if you can summarize, like, what do you feel is the difference between, spiritual ethics and professional ethics?
Yeah, this is a good one because I actually, so about almost a decade ago, I left corporate to start my own thing. And I spent 17 years in corporate. So that professional ethics thing. First of all, I was like, ethics? Like, do you really call toxicity ethics? Okay, well, we can, I mean, the corporate environment was so toxic. I mean, I was in the marketing world for most of it in different, areas. And it was, based on behavior management, reputation containment, compliance through like fear and loss. And so it's enforced by rules, it's, policed by like consequences and defined by these systems that these corporations have set up. Now, again, I was in very toxic ones most of the time, not all, but with that, those are very institutional and regulatory and cold, and there's almost no. I feel like there was no breath in those, and so the professional ethics of those spaces didn't really feel like ethics to me at all. It just felt like rules, and that's different, and not always based on a human being approach to life and living and what should and shouldn't be done, what's really right and not right. And so I have a billion examples, of course, which I will not go into, but now, so from my lens, spiritual ethics are very different. It's like I kept, when I was beginning, what I was here to do and really thinking about what it felt like, that guardian that's standing by a pool and there's people in the pool that are drowning. And I felt like, it's like when you begin this kind of mission, sacred mission work, as I call it, you want to jump in and you want to save. That's like this first initial wave. But then a wave comes over as well simultaneously that says, whoa, whoa, whoa. There's ethics to this savior model, this wanting, and it's a real balance that I think we all as pulled into any kind of art of healing, whatever that might look like in all the different ways that we can do these things, it's a different kind of guardianship. It's a guardianship through love. And so it's obligation. It's really looking at how, we can, we're not trying to impress. We're not trying to impress our belief systems on someone else. It's not pretending, it's not forcing, it's really being honest and peaceful and allowing our own words, our own body, our own energy tell the same truth consistently. And so it's a very different alignment. I mean, just saying these words, I get chills everywhere because again, when you're in full integrity, these kinds of spiritual ethics just come, it's almost like this natural integration that starts to come alive in the body. And that's very different feeling than what again, I get this cold like feeling when we say professional ethics. So it's really interesting, like even the words feel different. So anyway, these are kind of my initial thoughts on the differences between the two. One is so love-based and the other is so fear-based.
Yeah. And I feel that's such an important contrast. And I like to say that spiritual ethics are a guideline because, like you touched upon, it's following your truth and what aligns for you. Whereas the professional or corporate ethics are these are the rules, there's no gray. It's just like it is or it isn't. There's nothing in the middle, which we know life isn't made that way. So thank you, Natalie.
Yeah.
And Jenny Lee, I want to ask the same question to you. What do you find is the difference between professional ethics and spiritual ethics?
Yeah, thanks, Natalie, for those insights. I think the fear-based and love-based contrast is a really great summary. And I too came from the corporate world almost 10 years ago. And I did love being in there for that period of time, but there was a point where I found that people weren't in alignment, particularly leaders in companies. They would be asking everything of their employees and not wanting to put themselves on the line. And there's no transparency. I think that's a big difference between spiritual and traditional ethics, is that there's in traditional corporations, there's not necessarily the transparency that everything's held at the top level. There's this kind of secret, these secrets, and everyone down there doing the work don't often understand why they're doing the work. There's no skin in the game. There's no sort of alignment from top to bottom in what they're trying to achieve. It's a lot like everything's measured on KPIs. Everything's measured on output, and there's no there doesn't feel like there's a certain point in time, there doesn't feel like there's any compassion There's no recognition that people are people and they have, life isn't about work-life balance. We're all living a life. Part of it is our work, and part of it is the rest of what we do, our families. And often they bleed into each other, and there's no recognition of that. So in the work that I do now with breathwork, this particularly as a practitioner and holding the space for someone, I believe it's really important to really be transparent, really be authentic, to have done the work yourself before you ask it of somebody else. And often you don't see that in, traditional business. So, personally, I'm very choosy, if you like, about who I personally work with on my work. I'm not going to work with a practitioner who hasn't done the work themselves, who hasn't cleared out all the things that might get sticky if it comes up for me in my work. I think everyone's nodding, so you know what I'm talking about. So and in this spiritual work, it's about meeting people where they're at. It's not about projecting onto others what you want to see for them, because everyone has their own story. And what I love about breath work is it's this conversation between spirit and a person's body through the breath. And only the person in that body is going to know the story in full of what they've lived in their life. So almost as the person holding the space for that, it's got nothing to do with me. I can guide and suggest, but the questions always are coming from within, and it's a very self-responsible process. And so the self-responsibility in the ethical aspects of breathwork is important, as opposed to not everyone takes self-responsibility in the workplace, in the traditional workplace. There's always a blame game. So they're kind of the main differences I see. It's and being authentic as the practitioner and also knowing when to say, actually, what's happening for you is beyond my skill set. I need to refer you to someone else. You actually need, rather than trying to solve everything for everyone when it's actually not your jam.
Yeah. 100%. And I call it spiritual responsibility, right? It's like taking accountability for yourself, but then also for the person that's coming to you, and not, like you said, not sharing beyond where they're ready for, not where you see them going. And I know a lot of us work with timelines that we can see where they could potentially go if they step into their highest potential. And you're like, if you just break up with that boyfriend, you could have this whole life for you. But you can't say that, because that is taking them away from the power of their journey. And that is taking them from their self-discovery. Exactly like you said, when they go into breath work, they have that journey of transformation with themselves, and you can only hold space, and then when they finally come to you and go, oh, I broke up, you're like, yes, and you're truly excited because you can see the magic of that, but you haven't taken away their power in telling them how to get there. So such important points that you brought up, Jenny Lee. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Tamar, if we've talked about these differences and things, but what's something that's been highlighted to you, I guess, with what you've witnessed? I know you said that you've seen all this growth in South Florida of this community of imbalance, I guess, and really pushing back on the need for this spiritual ethics.
Yes. What was the question in regards to that?
So I guess we've got these contrasts. So I guess what
Uh-huh.
examples have you seen as well
Okay.
where spiritual ethics need to be really addressed? Yeah.
Yes. So um, I have friends that have done some of the plant medicine ceremonies and things like that. So I don't know who the practitioners are. I've only witnessed the stories, but I know that there was someone in the south of Florida who was holding a big ceremony event for, I don't know if it was mushrooms or if it was something. It was mushrooms mixed with something, I'm not really sure. But the person that had a reaction to it, like had went deep into their own trauma within this space was not, no space was held for them. So much so that the person that was leading the ceremony told them that that they needed to leave. So while they were high, this person had to leave and was still on the medicine and didn't know where they were. It was this big, so for me, this is a huge no. If you cannot hold space for someone journeying, you should not be holding the space. And so that for me is way out of alignment. And I see a lot of these things. There was a shaman, a girlfriend of mine went to years ago. And I don't know if they were doing a journey or if it was, I don't remember the essence of it, of what the workshop was, but energetically, the sexual, like feeding, energetic pulling of sexual energy that she eventually had felt, and it was almost like a siphoning, and that happens quite often. I actually see that happen quite often, and for me, I tell everyone, you have to be careful with who you work with. You have to be careful who has access to your energy, especially when it comes to this line of work, because there is unfortunately, a lot of people who use this kind of work for nefarious reasons, and it happens all the time.
Yeah.
And so those are some of the things that I've seen. Other things that I've seen are people who are just not embodied. They haven't been through the work. They haven't integrated their teachings. And so when they step in to teach, they don't really have the full grasp of it, or can't really lead you there. Or I got into a conversation with another person who does, I believe it was CAP, Kundalini activation, something, but they're moving the energy in your body so that you can feel it. I'm not saying that that is, not ethical. What I'm saying is the conversation that we had is the way that it's being done is people are relying on you now. They're continuing to rely on you for them feeling this way instead of learning how to do it themselves, instead of learning how to access it themselves at some point. Now, if it's a point where this is how you're supposed to feel, this is the energy that you can feel, like, now let me show you how to get there, how to live this on a daily basis. It doesn't seem to be like that with everyone. Some people seem to enjoy the reliance and it's more of I had to say it like an ego thing, or a material thing like money, but it's more of they enjoy having someone rely on them and for them to be able to give that experience instead of giving them their own power.
Yeah, and I feel this is a lovely bridge into the next question I'm going to ask it, because so often we get stuck in the certificates, like you were saying, like, oh, I went and did this degree, so therefore, or I did this class, or I did this course. And I remember having this conversation, someone rang me up and they're like, oh, what qualifies you to be a coach? And I went, does life and God count? Because, in the end, these are my experiences. And and this is the big thing. Like, there's life coaches who have been through no life experience. There are, yoga people saying they're yoga gurus because they've done 100 hours of training, but it's like, well, okay, but how does that make you a guru? And yes, you've embodied it, but are you, like you said, living it as well? Like, and the other point that you brought up, Tamara, is that vulnerability that people come to you in that state. And, this is exactly like you said, it's so important to hold space and allow that to happen. So, Tijuana, my question to you is, how can spiritual practitioners ensure that they are working ethically when dealing with vulnerable clients and those subtle energies as well?
In order to ensure that you're working ethically, you have to know spiritual law. And one of those spiritual laws, as you just mentioned, is you don't enter anyone's energy without permission. Express permission. You don't, like, for example, I've had when I used to do TikTok lives all night, I would have people come in. is Eddie in love with me? I don't know Eddie, and Eddie's not here. So I'm not willing to lose my gifts to tap into Eddie's energy to see if he's in love with you. But that comes from knowing spiritual law, where we don't cross those lines. And the way we ensure it is just say no. That's my practice. I will not do anything that breaks any law of spirit, all of them, to that will wind up coming back on me, is what I'm trying to say.
The karmic
I couldn't think of
repercussions.
the word. Exact. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't get it out. I had it and then couldn't get it out. Thank you. I'm not ready for that. So no. I will not read Eddie's energy or Eddie's friend's energy, and I don't care if he's laying right next to you. He's not giving me permission. And the other thing is, don't play with people's energy.
Mm. Mm.
Don't play with it. Go in, do what you need to do, and come out. We're not there for a lifetime. We're there for whatever it is they're paying us to do, and then come out of it, release it.
Yeah.
That's it. But don't play with people's energy, because essentially what you wind up doing is playing with their mind.
Yeah.
And that's no good either. So yes, being very, very cautious about following spiritual law to the letter. In fact, that was one of the things I taught in the Psychic Essence Collective tribe early on. It was about spiritual law and how not to cross it. So doing that, and I find a lot of practitioners these days, they'll do it. People doing love and especially love readings. I refuse to do them. I absolutely refuse. If you come to me and say you want a love reading, sorry, we'll cancel. You get your money back. But otherwise, just think about yourself and how we have had to fight through the dark night of the soul to get other people's energy out of ours, and calling our powerful energy back during that process. You don't want anyone else to have to go through that. As heart-centered leaders, we're not supposed to want our clients to have to go through that. Whether it's coaching, readings, it doesn't matter. Whatever spiritual work you're doing, energy clearings, you have to, leave people's energy alone. Don't mess with them. And Catherine, I just want to go back to something that you were saying just a second ago, and again I lost it. Forgive me. I do have epilepsy and had a seizure 2 days ago, so please
The
forgive
karmic repercussions, or do you mean before that?
Yes.
Yeah.
The karmic repercussions. What people don't realize is the karmic repercussions of it is your spirit team has to walk away.
Wow.
You are left out here in this world with no backup. Your blessings are gone, your gifts go away, and your spirit team leaves. You might have angels left over, maybe, but that is the karmic repercussion to breaking spiritual law. And I tell people all the time, I'm not willing to go there, so I don't know what to tell you.
And then I feel
So
it carries on too, right? That it carries on to the
it
next
does.
life.
It does. It
And
carries on.
imprints into our soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to our children.
Yeah.
They wind up with repercussions from it.
Yeah.
And our grandchildren. And I don't want my little grandbabies running around, with karmic repercussions on their pretty little heads. No. That's not what I want. So yes, you are 100% spot on.
Yeah. Which is such a powerful reminder, I guess, the responsibility that we have working in these fields, in the spiritual fields, is that yes, we are holding space. These people are vulnerable, but also, I set the intention for anything I do for the highest and greatest good for all parties involved, because you are still carrying energy for that person in that space, and you don't want the repercussions for that too. And I find that that's something a lot of practitioners miss, is they just want to help or serve the other person, but they forget about themselves, which in itself becomes incredibly draining too. So thank you too, Anna, for those insights. Appreciate it. And Denise, how do you find that, is a great way to work ethically with clients who are coming to you vulnerable and, all these energies happening as well?
Yeah, it's such a beautiful question. And I feel that we've got to allow them to tell their story
Mm.
and allow them to see themselves, and it's all about us holding the space, holding that energy of love and unconditional love, and allowing them to walk it themselves. We're just there as the vehicle in the sense, so they get in their own driver's seat to be able to see themselves. And through our own experiences, we can share what we did, but doesn't mean that they're going to do that themselves. It just means this is where I came to this place, and allow them to walk and see the place that they need to go. And it's, when you hold the space, which is energy of love, and it's unconditional because you have no hold on anybody. And that's what we've all got to remember as well. We have no hold on anybody. And we walk in and hold that space for them to be able to open up for themselves. Because when people come to us, they're in that vulnerable space where they don't know how to open up themselves, because they've got all this stuff of conditioning. Everything in their life to this point is based on what they see, it's like they've lived outside of themselves. So we're holding space so they can actually come home to themselves. So for me, it's all about, like you say, protecting yourself and holding that space for myself, that I am not intruding, and that allows them, because people feel it. People feel if you're trying to railroad them, they know. And if they're extremely vulnerable, and I think that's the thing, people go into this with, oh, I can do this for people, I'll make $1. It's never ever about the money. People have got to consider their souls here, and how you impact them is changes their life, and it changes yours as well, like the karma. And it can go on for generations. So if you're trying to help people because you want to make money, it's not an exchange whatsoever. So it's about coming back and always asking yourself, where am I in this? How can I help someone help themselves?
Mm.
And I think that well, I feel so strongly that people have got to go in and keep questioning themselves and hold their intentions for, like you said, Catherine, the highest good. If I'm not holding for the highest good, it's dirty. It's
Love.
murky. You're in the mud, and you're not helping anybody. You're taking people into a life directory of pain, more pain. And then for people lose that trust, so they go nowhere.
Mm. Yeah.
And I've got to carry that for the rest of my days.
Yeah. And I think trust is such an important thing, and we don't talk about it enough, right? Like, trust is actually what the difference between integrity and accountability, because people are trusting you and you're building that trust with people. And every interaction you have with somebody is building that trust and building that ability that people feel vulnerable enough to get deep with you. Because if they don't feel safe in the space that you've created, they're not going to go deep enough to get that transformational journey that they're looking for. And, it's like you said, there's the dirty and the murky. And a red flag I often bring up with people is if you ask questions and they don't answer them, and it not in a way that like you're shortcutting their journey, but if they don't answer them because you're curious about something and they say, oh, you don't need to worry about that, I'll hold that for you, or dismiss you and you feel dismissed and unheard, run the other way. They are not the practitioner for you and they're not who you're meant to be working with, because if they can't even answer a simple question to support you to get to the next step or to help you understand, there's a misalignment there. There's something that they're not honoring. It's different if you say, someone shared earlier about knowing when to refer on because it's beyond your scope, and this is where it comes into that trust and that integrity and the accountability. Because if you're not authentic enough in yourself to go, oof, this is past life regression and I'm not comfortable holding this space for you, but I know someone really powerful that could assist you, this is where you're serving multiple people, and it's almost a different level of spiritual ethics, because it's like, well, you've owned it in yourself, but then you're also serving this person still by referring them to the right person and helping them. And maybe that's why they came to you as a stepping stone to get to the person, because they didn't know the right person to go to. So thank you for sharing that, Denise. And Jenny Lee, what are ethical responsibilities of lightworkers, healers, and teachers in the digital age? This is such a fun thing.
Um, before we get on that, there's just one thing I want to just delve a little bit more into is this idea of client safety. And for me, there's three areas in that. One is the physical space. If you're seeing someone face to face and online, you have to make sure that they're set up safely at home to have their experience. Two is the emotional safety. So being able to because often people are in their deep trauma and they're revealing things that they may not have even shared with their closest confidant in their life, and they're coming across things that so that are really deep and emotional. So holding the space for emotional safety. I had someone come to one of my circles after doing plant medicine, actually, and that person was awake enough to know that they hadn't actually even finished the process. So in breath work, there's always a beginning, middle, and end, and not to sort of cut someone off short when they're in the middle of their emotional processing and not allowing enough integration. And the other one, of course, is spiritual safety. So there's lots of aspects there. But
yeah, thank you for addressing that.
Yeah. So in the digital age, wow, that's a big one for me. I personally never take photos, especially when I'm in groups. If I take photos if I have someone taking photos, it's always with permission, or I'm just showing a part of someone's body. I'm nothing that can ever identify anyone, especially if you haven't asked permission of the group. And also in the social media, being out there and demonstrating that you are authentic. I think there's a lot of I don't know, a big noting is what comes to me. A lot of people out there, saying I can do this and I can do that, and yet, spiritual marketing, social media presence isn't my biggest forte, because I just see so many traps with it. So maybe someone else can answer this question more than me.
That's all right, Jenny Lee. I love that. But I love what you said too about photos, because so often, especially I worked for years with children, and I'd have this fight with my business partner because personally, there is not a single photo of my child online. And if there is, that hasn't been with my permission. And, this is the same even as a person, like you need to ask permission. Can I put that because it's still putting your energy out there through the photo. And a lot of people don't realize that too. So thank you for bringing that up. And Jenny Lee, I'm conscious of the time. Do you want to share anything that people can come and find you or come and connect with you?
Sure, I have a website. I'm out there branded as myself these days because I do so many different things. I'm just jennyleetaylor.com.au. And if anyone wants to talk to me, I always start with a chat. I like to hear people's voices, hear what's happening for people through the voice. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jenny Lee. And Natalie, is there what ethical responsibilities, you can pick one thing in the digital age, do we need to be aware of? And could you let people know as well if they want to come find you and connect with you?
Sure. Well, there's so much to unpack in this topic, but I think the big thing that came up when I was thinking about this, it's a big thing anyway because I spent so much time, in the marketing world, which now that word is just like gross and bleh to me because it basically marketing has equated to manipulation, pure and simple. Lying about, where it's just this, it's this fake persona, fake presence. And now that we have this whole AI component coming into this, trust is, I think, probably the most difficult thing to earn as a true human that loves humanity and earth. And, we are now, on this level that is just, it's changing with every breath that we take in terms of like what people are experiencing, the lack of truth, the lack of real presence, the lack of integrity, the lack of, I mean, the list is just so long. So, in this digital age, what, I also talk to clients about is this pure, transparent way of honoring, like, this is me, this is where I'm at, this is why I even exist, and just being so real in that kind of sharing is the biggest, most important thing today in this aspect of, not speaking because you're trying to teach or trying to, it's like it's carrying a tone, it's carrying a frequency, it's carrying presence, it's carrying stability in this world where everyone's nervous system is under attack. And, it's not a war per se, but it's a feeling of, these things constantly coming at people with nervous systems, in in that light. And it's so energetic, posture and presence is just so key, without, manipulation being a part of that, because that is just, we don't need more. What is that quote? I actually found this earlier and I was like, oh, this actually speaks so much truth. But that quote about, how this world doesn't need more successful people. It needs more people that can hold space, the peacemakers, healers, restorers and storytellers. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how can people find you, Natalie?
People can find me at awakeningmagic.com, and it's Magick. So just so we don't get confused with stage magic.
I love that. Thank you, Natalie.
Thanks.
And Tamar, what is something that you possibly warn your clients about with the digital age, even? This is what seems to be the thing. And then, where can people find you on social media or any offers that you have? Yeah.
I think Natalie kind of touched on it. It's really about being authentic and being you. I really struggle with social media, and I don't even want to put those words out there because the words are magic, So, um, but yeah, I even got off of it for a couple years, and it was really hard for me to even get back on because I didn't want to be a part of that. Um, but I do see it as a way that if we have a message, people are looking. They do look at their phone. So if we can provide with a beautiful message that's authentic, that is bringing them back to their true selves, and that is a way that they're being reached. Okay, I've kind of come to an okay with having to use it. But I still struggle with it. And some of it is because of photos, even photos of myself. Posting photos of myself anymore has kind of been a struggle because of what we're talking about. It's that energetic and your energy is there. Like it's out there now. And so it's been a little bit of a challenge for me to be on social media, but I am trying and using it as when you're authentic, when you have integrity, when you're pulling people back into themselves, and also letting them know that it's probably not a great idea to always be on social media, but
Mm.
taking that time away to really connect with spirit, to connect with your own soul, to disconnect, and making sure that that is not an addiction, that dopamine hit that we get from social media, but to actually use it as a tool and not as,
Yes. Doom
yeah,
scrolling.
yeah, exactly. Not as doom scrolling. Use it as a tool. That's it. Um, but yeah, so how can you find me? I am The Feminine Codes everywhere. My website's The Feminine Codes. My podcast is The Feminine Codes. Instagram, Feminine Codes. So quite easy to find me. And yes, I do have a retreat coming up in the south of France in April, all about the rose lineage. I lead Vision Quest here and nature, more of a descent into the soul. So if you want to reach out and find me, you can find me in any of those places, and I'd be happy to speak with you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tamar. And Tijuana, what's one thing that you could give as advice for dealing with the digital age and then how people can come and connect with you?
Dealing with the digital age, my goodness.
I know. We got to keep it short.
I, I know, right? I will. Don't go in people's DMs without permission. I think that's one of the most rude and vile things you can do. Is to message someone you don't know randomly to try to drum up spiritual service. It just doesn't feel right. And anyone who comes in my DMs, I tell them, hey, even if I was looking for someone, you wouldn't be it because you just violated what I have pinned on my Facebook page, which is if you friended me to DM me, don't. So and I don't believe in it. I just don't. So that's my piece of advice. Don't DM people to try to drum up business, saying you see something or whatever. We're not supposed to be looking in their energy anyway.
Hmm. Yeah. And if you do want to connect there with them, have a genuine connection. For me, when I contact people, I'm like, hey, I really love your mission. Can you tell me more about it? Because that is coming from a place of integrity. And I am with you, Tijuana. If someone drops a sales thing in my thing, and the amount of times people would just drop a link in there, I'm like, excuse me? That's not what I was about. I was actually curious how you're working with mothers because I do the same thing. Maybe we can collaborate. I don't know. So I love that you brought that point up too. And where can people find you, Tijuana, if they want to connect with you?
Thunderbird Rising on most platforms, and my website is I am Thunderbird Rising.
Beautiful. And the websites are all going to be in the show notes as well. So don't panic if you're listening, you're like, I have nothing to write it down. It's okay. And Denise, what's one piece of advice you have about social media and where people can connect with you? Not social media, digital age. That's what I meant to say.
I suppose everyone's got to be really conscious of what they're using it for and how to use it to benefit themselves. But I'm very much, I don't spend a lot of time on social media, digital. I'm very much connect with trees, plants. I like taking on the energy around me. And I was very big for some time in the digital, and I actually spend more time now in my community and the surroundings that I'm in and reaching people that way and joining communities that are in my community that are helping each other in that way. So, we don't have to just have the digital or go on all these platforms to think that that's where we can reach people because, there's people all around us. We don't live You know, we're a community, so it's about how can I help my community, and stop reaching outside of yourself to find life. Actually reach within, and within your community, you'll find it. And there's beautiful communities online, but it's about, do I get lost in that? Am I really getting what I want out of that? So it's about coming back to yourself and really questioning what's working for me.
Yes.
And if I'm doom scrolling and doing all of that stuff, well, it's not serving me.
No.
It's actually really hindering me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would give.
And where can people connect with you?
Facebook and Instagram, just Denise Blackney, not just Denise Blackney, at Denise Blackney. And I just love to chat. So I love to give you everything that I have. I just want people to really connect with themselves and self-heal. So have a chat.
Beautiful.
That's it.
And Dawn, you have been here the whole time. Thank you so much for being present and listening to us discuss this. Do you have any questions or anything you want to ask to anybody?
I don't have any questions. This has just been really lovely to hear everybody's thoughts about this, and I can resonate with so much, you know. Um, I know, like in the work I do, I'm a grief recovery method specialist. So I never work with someone having not done my own work. And so that's something that's really important to me as I come into working with my clients. So there were so many things that were shared today that I just really resonated with. And I appreciated just hearing everybody's, you know, side of what they feel is important with spiritual ethics. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your insights, Dawn. I love
Yeah.
that you see that and you can apply it to your work straight away, right? This is the whole
Right.
point. You know, knowledge stays knowledge until it's applied, then it becomes wisdom. You know,
Exactly.
that's the biggest thing. And I wanted to touch on quickly before we finish is about AI, because I know that's a thing that keeps coming up. And I guess the biggest thing that I heard and I learned and it resonates with me is that AI does not have intuition. It cannot understand your soul. It cannot understand that deeper level of you. And, you know, you can go ask questions, but it will never get deeper. And this is why we all still need people. And we need to understand that AI cannot become your therapist. You can use it for that initial guidance and maybe even go, oh, this is something I need to go deeper with. Hey, who can I go see about this? Rather than creating a friendship with it and that sort of thing. Like I yell at my AI, I'm not going to lie. I'm like, you're not doing what I want you to do. And I'm a lot harsher with it than I would be with a person. But at the same time, I'm not dependent on it. I'm still using my critical thinking and I'm still using my intuition about whether that runs true or not. And this is what we talked about today, remembering who you are and your truth. Use it as a tool, like anything, social media, all those sorts of things. Use it as a tool and really come back to yourself and trust your authentic self and trust your story and what makes you you. So a big thank you to everyone for joining us for the panel today. I feel Sophia's going to come back in as well, I think. Maybe? Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How can I not miss this opportunity to connect with all these amazing women on what an incredible topic and agree with everything? You know, spiritual ethics is so important in our world, especially as you mentioned, Catherine, in the digital and the AI age. AI cannot replace a human being, no matter what. I just want to take a moment to, first of all, to really honor you, Catherine. This is your very first panel, and you've done an incredible job at facilitating, especially because it's such a large panel. We don't usually have so many women on us, and I'm really honored that everyone came. And of course, to our beautiful first-time guests, Tamar and Natalie, really thank you ever so much for joining us, that we threw you in the deep end. And Jenny Lee, this is your first time on a panel too. Yes, Jenny Lee is one of our Wisdom Circle facilitators and soon to facilitate panels as well that I'm looking forward to. And of course, our beautiful Tawana and Denise are joining us as well from different parts of the world. And Dawn is a wonderful guest. Dawn will be facilitating her first panel very soon as well. So thank you. Wonderful topic, really wonderful conversation. Truly, 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 for everyone who is watching, do yourself a favor, take advantage of these women who have just given over an hour of their time to discuss spiritual ethics. Click on the links below and reach out to them. And while you're there, check out Sacred You. We all know it. It's Sacred You with the letter U, .love. If you put / join free, come and join us in our village for free, where you get so much value, so much content. And before we go, the other thing is we do have a membership, which I forgot to mention. Catherine, who is not only the author of Spiritual Ethics, is the host of our Empowered Entrepreneurs Tribe. So tell us about that, Catherine.
Yeah, so we wait. It's every Monday at 9 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Don't ask me to convert that. But it's everyone with a business or curious about how they can evolve their business or just want to share their wins and what's working for them, what's happening. We have a beautiful bunch of women come and you get free business coaching, but also it's more about, seeing that there's other solutions and that sometimes when we get stuck in the trenches of business, it's like, how do we pull ourselves out? And, having a spiritual business, like we have to take into account the ethics, but at the same time, it's always nice to find new things, and have that shared. And because you have like a brain's trust of other people, I might share something, but then someone's like, oh, actually, I did this and that worked for me. And I did that and that worked for me. And that's what I love about hosting that space, hosting Empowered Entrepreneurs, is because we're all empowering each other and, celebrating the wins, celebrating even when you get stuck and helping you see a way back out of that. So if you want to come join, it's a beautiful space and please drop in. No one bites. We're all very open and, there's such a years of collective experience of running businesses between us.
Absolutely, and I totally agree. And I'm really honored and fortunate that you are facilitating that. And I look forward to it every week. So thank you. And you definitely learn about spiritual ethics and practice spiritual ethics in that. And also our beautiful Tawana is the host of our Psychic Essence Collective, which definitely being a psychic in this world has to have a lot of spiritual ethics, as you mentioned, Tawana. But very quickly, tell us about your tribe. And what are the benefits for someone to join it?
So I host the Psychic Essence Collective, as Sophia said, and it's all things woo, all things psychic, all things medium. And the benefits to joining is you're first of all, you're going to be immersed in love, kindness, and consideration. I teach very slowly, in bite-sized pieces so that you can really digest it and take time to integrate it. I put the ebooks up in the group usually during the week so that people can revisit the information and integrate it, digest it, put it into practice. But yes, at the Psychic Essence Collective, we are all things woo. And then we have Sacred Divination right after, which is free readings for anybody who's on the Sacred You website.
Absolutely. And thank you. And yes, as you said, it's all free readings. The Sacred Divination. There will be information on our website. Come and join us because as a village member, which is free, you get to view these amazing tribes and all our other ones as well. Plus you get to get some free readings. Hey, especially in this, age of AI and digital stuff and everything else, we have 3 amazing women every week who come and give free readings. Come and check it out. sacredyou.love. Join us for free. Thank you ever so much. I am really excited and looking forward to our next ones. Looking forward to Catherine, you coming back and facilitating, and Jenny Lee and Dawn and Tamara and Natalie. Come and join us again, and we will see you next time. Thank you.